What's up, guys? Pypo here, bringing you a video today on 5 things that you didn't know about World of Warcraft. Let's get straight into it. Number 5 is that PvP instances used to be a thing. And by PvP instances, I mean there used to be places in the world where you would have to run and specifically go to that portal to run through to join a battleground. For instance, WSG would be in the Barrens for Horde. You'd run through, you'd get in there, you walk into a red portal, and it would queue you automatically for WSG. And every single battleground had one of these portals throughout the world, and they were very, very busy with people doing PvP and that sort of thing. There's also people that would sell gear from vendors and stuff like that. Number 4 would be that torrents could not originally mount. Much like Worgens today, they could actually have an ability called plane striding, and that would make them bend over and run fast like a mount, much like the Worgens do today. But they originally thought this would be a good idea until torrents complained, and then they gave torrents a mount, but the only mount they gave them were Kodos, because it was foreseen that Kodos were the only mounts big enough to forego a torrent's weight. But then again, later Blizzard decided to let all mounts be ridden by torrents. Number 3 would be that early on in vanilla, and kind of between vanilla and mid-vanilla, there was the item called bucklers. Now, bucklers still exist in the game, but they're just shields. But back in vanilla, bucklers were specifically for hunters and rogues. Now, bucklers were a slot. They could be in between, for instance, a rogue's daggers, or in between a hunter's bow and like axe and sort of thing like that. They'd have a defensive thing called a buckler, and these would actually allow hunters and allow rogues to block and stop damage and have more armor by equipping these bucklers. So there are some very old screenshots of rogues and hunters with bucklers on their backs, and this was going to be a thing in the game until Blizzard decided to remove it in one of the later patches. Number 2 would be that Gnomergon was actually originally a gnome city. It was actually meant and built as a gnome home city. It was completely built with that purpose in mind until later on Blizzard decided that it would be unfair for Alliance to have more towns and more major cities than Horde did, and so instead of doing that, they gave it to the Trogs and made it an instance for all players to do. That is why it is a huge instance, is because it was made to be a major city, but they decided later on to scrap that idea and just make it an instance. And going off of that one is number 1, which is Ironforge, used to be massive. Now, when I say massive, I mean the hugest city you could ever imagine. It used to have levels above levels and lower levels and massive levels. It had deep run trams that went everywhere instead of just between there and Stormwind. It had deep run trams that went to Darnassus, that went to fucking to Gnomergon before it was scrapped. All these sorts of things Ironforge had, and it was made a huge city until Blizzard realized that they had no real reason to have a city this large, and that it would be kind of a one-sided thing if Blizzard let Alliance have this huge city while Horde did not have a huge city in the same scale. So they scrapped a lot of the floors, which led to a lot of people actually finding some of the floors left in the coding below and above Ironforge for future games and future patches to come, until Blizzard actually released one of the small underground caverns in one of the Mist of Pandaria patches. And that's been there this whole time. I don't know if they'll ever open up any more of the caves and other caverns that are above and below Ironforge, or if they are even in there in the game as of right now. But it's definitely a possibility. They originally wanted to make Ironforge in a huge dwarf city, but they scrapped it. Anyway, guys, that's 5 things you most likely did not know about WoW. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day, guys. I will see you in the next video. See you later, guys.